Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Hear 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans drift in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show here on this lovely first day of May 1st, 2025. We have a rubber match game in Game 3 between the New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Before we fully get into this pregame stream, Rob cannot join me on this stream, but it's okay. First stream together in a while will be coming up on the post game right after today's game, probably around 4:15 p.m. right after the conclusion of this game. And as you all can tell, I'm not in my regular setup. I'm not in my regular environment. So hopefully the connection and audio sounds good. If it doesn't, please let me know. You know what to do in the live chat section. And also let me know your thoughts and opinions on this game. What are you looking out for? And if you weren't a part of the post game, that's okay. I linked it in the description down below. Make sure you go check that out, and we'll kind of rehash some of the things that we talked about in the post game yesterday and kind of recap some of the decisions that were made and the lack of production as well offensively as we have today's lineup out, as you can see right here in the middle of your screen. Also, please do smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, all the usual orders of business before we fully get into this pregame show. Want to take the chance to salute, the people who are here on this lovely afternoon. It's 12:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a weekday. It's a Thursday matinee. I feel like we've had a couple of Thursday matinees now in this early season. But shout out to D, Nelson, Ken, everybody in the chat. I see Josh in the chat as well. I appreciate you all being here. And per usual, Ken does not like the theme song here. So that's unfortunate. But anyways, what is fortunate for us is that we get a chance to redeem ourselves. The Mets get a chance to redeem themselves following last night's 4-3 loss in Game 2 of this series. And again, if you missed the post game, go check it out. We have a little bit more in-depth analysis over there. But we were just talking about some of the decision making from Carlos Mendoza in terms of, the pitching decisions, right? So we're talking about taking Brandon Waddell out for Ryan Stanek in that 7th inning. Ryan Stanek, of course, gives up a couple of bloop hits, and he gives up 2 runs, especially to the pinch hitter Perdomo with a go-ahead 2-run single there after the Mets led 1-0 for the majority of the game. And then also the decision to ride with Chris Davinsky, who was actually sent down. And we'll talk about a couple of these corresponding roster moves that we've seen here early in the morning from the Mets pitching front. But choosing to ride with Chris Davinsky in the 9th inning for his 2nd inning of work. He posted a scoreless in the 8th inning. Edwin Diaz was warming up. To me, it looked like Edwin Diaz was coming into that ball game. And it looked like Edwin Diaz thought he was coming into that ball game because he was kind of slowly, when the camera panned to him, walking towards the bullpen gate to come out onto the field. And when the commercial break ended, I was very surprised that it was not Edwin Diaz out there. And it was kind of a decision that loomed large because the Diamondbacks were able to get 2 insurance runs, and that was just enough for them to have a tandem of closers in the 9th inning between Martinez and Thompson and close out the Mets offense, who were threatening there. I believe at one point they had bases loaded and nobody out, with the score being 4-2 after the Tyrone Taylor solo home run to lead off the 9th inning. So again, just decision making that, I understand riding with the veteran and Ryan Stanek. I'm going to kind of repeat myself from yesterday, but if you're going to ride with the veteran and Stanek in a close ball game, ride with the veteran on the team that you know what he's got. I know that he struggled this season, albeit, but his last inning of work was a save, and he looked pretty good with 3 strikeouts outside of that 4-pitch walk and that 2-0 victory. I believe it was on Saturday for the New York Mets over the Washington Nationals. That was a spot where I really do think that Edwin Diaz should have been in the ball game. And if he posts a scoreless inning, if he posts a 0, then you're talking about the Mets, in hindsight, of course, it's always 2020, winning that ball game. And offensively, right? Let's hope that this variation of the lineup is able to get the job done with runners in scoring position. 0 for 10 last night with runners in scoring position simply is not a recipe for success. It's not. We're not asking for much. The big hit eluded the New York Mets yesterday because, again, the pitching, Stanek and Davinsky giving up the runs that they did. It's a 4-run ball game that they gave up. Braziban pitched well. Brandon Waddell, first time in the majors since 2021. He went and pitched a couple of years in the KBO. He looked fantastic. And I understand that Stanek and Davinsky gave up some runs, but that was a situation where the Mets were getting runners on. They were getting traffic. You got to come through. If you're going to be a top 5 offense in this league, those are the games that you should win because the pitching, for the most part, was holding down the fort, and they were giving the Mets continuous opportunities to take the lead back in that ball game in the later stages of the ball game. And unfortunately, they just couldn't do it. A lot of squandered opportunities. I look at the 9th inning, right? And I look at the 1st inning where they had a threatening situation against Corbin Burnes, who didn't have his best stuff as well, and they couldn't get the job done. They come away with 0 runs with bases loaded and 1 out against Corbin Burnes. But you know what? Today's a new day. As we mentioned, and as I talked about after that 8-7 loss in Washington, great teams come back, right? Great teams come back from tough losses, like the 8-7 blown lead, the debacle in DC, and also yesterday. And they make the fans forget that yesterday even happened. And the Mets have an opportunity to do so. And they also, coincidentally, since it's a 3-game set, have a chance to win this series, which is what the season of 162 games is all about, in my humble opinion. Heartbreaking games are going to happen. Heartbreaking losses are going to happen. Does it make anybody feel better, right? Saying that? No. But it's just the cold, hard truth is that those types of games are going to happen. I think Mendoza, it's a rare occurrence that Mendoza gets outmanaged, but I think Mendoza got outmanaged, and I don't think that he's going to make the same mistakes twice because Mendoza learns from his mistakes. Early on in his tenure as Mets manager, he's going to be here for a while. Make no mistake about that. He usually presses all the right buttons in terms of the decision making. Yesterday was a rare occurrence where he got outmanaged, flat out. But today's a new day. So not only the players have an opportunity to learn something from yesterday, Mendoza does as well. And I have full confidence in him that he's going to make the right decisions if the same situation arises or a similar situation arises today. But this is the Mets lineup here in the middle of your screen. Lindor, the top 3 stay the same, right? Lindor batting leadoff, probably the best leadoff hitter in the game right now. I mean, I don't think that there's another leadoff hitter in the game starting off in the 1st inning that I take over Francisco Lindor. He's playing shortstop. Juan Soto. Soto, I'll talk about Soto at some point during this stream. It's really tough to figure out what's going on with Juan Soto because he's getting unlucky. It's a mixture of him not looking comfortable, but also being unlucky. He smoked the baseball in that 1st inning yesterday, and it was an out, right? Stuff happens. He gave another baseball a ride on 3-0, and he flew out to the warning track or just before it. And I know that a lot of people want to talk about the 3-0 swing. I don't think that was a situation to swing 3-0. So I'm in that camp. I know Zach yesterday in the postgame, he was talking about how he doesn't mind it. And with a hitter of Juan Soto's caliber, if he, clearly he had the green light. If he had the take sign, he wouldn't have been swinging from the third base coach, or if Mendoza passed that along to him, he would not have been swinging, right? But he had the green light. So that at least shows me that this coaching staff still, even during his struggles, if you consider this a Juan Soto struggle, because he's batting 250 with an OPS just hovering under 800, he's going to figure it out. I don't think that was a situation to swing 3-0. But again, in the last at bat that he had, he drew a 3-2 walk, worked the count, was able to see the ball out of, I believe at that point it was still Justin Martinez. He saw it well, and he got on base and he kept the line moving. And that's exactly what we should be asking for out of Juan Soto in that situation, is to keep the line moving if you're not getting many pitches to hit, or if they're just trying to work around you. So Juan Soto is going to figure it out. There's this fan base, I think that we're jumping a little bit to like drastic measures with Juan Soto. I get it. It hasn't been pretty. I'm going to hold him accountable. We all should be holding him accountable. Everyone understands that. But I'm still going to wait. If he is still doing this in mid-June, then I'll be worried, right? If he's still doing this even in early June, I'll be worried. But I look at the at-bats that he's taking, and I'm like, he's just like a step away. That's really my honest assessment. I think that he's a step away, because the things that I'm seeing in the at-bat to at-bat basis is that he's making adjustments up there, and he's figuring it out. The numbers don't really resemble that up to his standards. I understand that, but he's not far off. And we'll see if this prediction of mine, holds true. But I think in about a week or two, you're going to see the most unlocked version of Juan Soto, and we're going to forget all these discussions that this Mets fan base is having right now. And I understand also that it's frustrating because he's supposed to be one of the more consistent hitters, especially when this Mets offense is trying to get into a rhythm, because they haven't gotten into a full rhythm just yet. But I'm going to play the patient game with Juan Soto. And I understand that this Mets fan base, 21-10, these games all matter in April and now early May. But if I had to bet, if I was a betting man, I'm betting on him figuring it out middle of this month going into June and catching that hot streak and never relinquishing that. So Juan Soto's batting second, playing right field. Pete Alonso, on base 4 times yesterday, 3 walks, 1 hit by pitches, back in there. Good to see him back in there after getting hit in the hand in that last inning. Or in one of his at-bats, playing first base, batting third. Jesse Winker gets the DH duties. Jesse Winker just missed an opposite field home run. Again, another warning track shot from Jesse Winker. And all you can do is laugh because it looked good off the bat. And as he was going back into the dugout, he was just laughing to himself, because I feel like that's happened to Jesse Winker a good amount of times so far this season, where there's a lot of warning track balls and he just can't quite get it over the fence. And hopefully his luck turns around today, batting fourth, cleaning up, being the DH. Mark Vientos back in there in the 5 spot, playing third base. Had the solo home run yesterday. It was good to see off of Corbin Burns. And this is a good benchmark right here by Dwayne. Keep saying the Yankee series for Juan Soto to figure it out. I think that's a good benchmark for him. Vientos batting fifth. Playing third base. Brandon Nimmo back in the lineup. We saw him pinch hitting yesterday at some point in the ball game for Luis Angel Acuna. A lot of swing and miss. Brandon Nimmo didn't look his most comfortable in that bat, but it's good to see him back out there after dealing with some of the sickness that he's been dealing with. Luis Torrens playing catcher behind the plate, batting seventh. This is something that we're going to continue to see out of Carlos Mendoza in terms of the lineup construction. Alvarez is probably going to be playing the night games, but he'll never be playing back-to-back when it's a night game and then a day game right after that. So Luis Torrens is getting the duties. I'm curious again. I know that Alvarez had a great series in Washington. He struggled mightily taking the 0 for 5 yesterday. Very curious if Mendoza tries to rework Torrens a little bit back into this lineup on an everyday basis as more of a platoon role. I would welcome it, but I will stick to my take that I've been saying all along, in that Francisco Alvarez is probably going to be getting the bulk duties behind the plate. And I agree with that if that's the choice that Mendoza rolls with. Jeff McNeil back to playing second base, batting eighth, and Tyrone Taylor, who had himself a fantastic ball game. Tyrone Taylor swinging the bat very well. He made that ridiculous catch in the first game of this series in center field to help out David Peterson, I believe, in that second or third inning. And it was just a defensive clinic in that game for the New York Mets. He is back in the lineup, playing center field, batting ninth. And when the Mets don't really have many options, especially with Jose Siri on the shelf with that fractured tibia, of course, Carlos Mendoza is going to have to ride the hot hand in this platoon type of environment in center field to get the most offensive production as he possibly can. So this is also some news from today that I wanted to mention. This is from Anthony DiComo, a couple of roster adjustments that the Mets are deploying here in lieu of some of the injury news that they've gotten. Towards the bottom, you can see that Ty Adcock and Genesis Cabrera, the lefty, he rejoins the Mets. Actually, he hasn't been up so far this early season, but he looked pretty decent in spring training, did Genesis Cabrera, who was a new acquisition for David Stearns this past offseason, a very electric lefty, and is now the only lefty, in this Mets bullpen following the injuries of AJ Minter and Danny Young. And it's not really looking promising for either one of those guys. I think that a lot of people get worried when they see these transactions happening from a front office perspective. And Anthony Como here saying that Mets roster moves this morning include transferring AJ Minter and Montas to the 60-day IL. And the Montas injury, and the 60-day IL stint, it's retroactive in terms of when he was first placed on the IL. So you're looking at about a June reappearance for Frankie Montas. It's not 60 days from today. It's retroactive. So Frankie Montas and AJ Minter are hitting the 60-day IL. Again, really not good news for AJ Minter. And then DeComo follows that up by saying a September return at best is the best case scenario for AJ Minter. So, it's going to be a very lengthy process, and it's going to be an uphill battle for him to go ahead and try to rejoin this team. And it's an unfortunate blow. It's an unfortunate blow, but the good news and the silver lining here is that Brooks Raley is way ahead of schedule in terms of rehabbing from that Tommy John surgery that he had last season, and he is already throwing bullpen sessions. And as per the broadcast booth a couple days ago, I believe it was in game one between the Mets and the Diamondbacks, Gary Cohen was saying that a rehab assignment for Brooks Raley could be on the horizon if these bullpen sessions that he is now throwing continue to go according to plan. So that's just a couple of updates here. Really am curious about the production level of Genesis Cabrera, because Genesis Cabrera has the opportunity, right, to kind of replicate the way that Danny Young, who also is on the IL at this point. We don't really know what the status update of Danny Young is. We know that yesterday after the game, Danny Young, Mendoza gave an update on Danny Young stating that Tommy John surgery is not out of the question. It's a sprained elbow, quote unquote. He has a sprained ligament in that elbow, and that was due to some forearm issues that he was having that he couldn't simply recover from. And I guess he was pitching through those forearm issues, and it caught up to him with this sprained ligament. And so anytime you mess around with the ligaments in the elbow, especially from a pitcher, it's not really the best outlook. So we're probably looking at an extended timeline. I know that he was placed on the IL 15. I think that in a couple of days from now, if you want to make another corresponding move, if you're David Stearns, you're probably going to transfer Danny Young to the IL 60 as well, if Tommy John surgery is actually on the table. So keep an eye out for that. But Genesis Cabrera has a very unique opportunity in front of him. Last season, it was Brooks Raley going down in the month of April after a couple of dominant performances, right, for the New York Mets. And Danny Young kind of came onto the scene and made a name for himself early on and kind of just stuck around for the rest of the season. Genesis Cabrera has the same opportunity. Especially with the scarcity of lefties right now in this Mets bullpen. And so we will see if he's up to the task and if he is going to pitch his way to remain on this team. And if he does well, which I think that he has the ability to do so because I like everything that he has in his arsenal. He's got an electric fastball from the left-handed side of the mound. I really do think that deploying a dual lefty bullpen with the likes of Genesis Cabrera and Brooks Raley when he comes back is not the worst thing in the world. And it's a very good insurance plan to have when the original plan probably was AJ Minter and Brooks Raley, both of those guys combined together before the AJ Minter injury. So that's where we're at with that. Daniel Nunez, I've got no idea what's going on with Daniel Nunez. As soon as I hear an update from Daniel Nunez, I'll let you all know. I haven't heard anything. I know that he's pitched, I think, around 5 innings in the minor leagues so far this season. I haven't really heard an update of how those innings went. And another guy that can come up and really contribute to this Mets team and kind of refortify this bullpen that is now kind of reeling in terms of the injuries. So hopefully he is well on his way back and there's no hiccups with Daniel Nunez, but I just haven't heard anything from the Nunez front. Let's see here. Let's get into some more of these comments. Paul's saying Alvey didn't change his approach at all, still swinging out of his shoes. We did see that a couple of times yesterday. I think that if he gets a little bit more even keel, a little bit more relaxed and balanced in the plate, it'll help him out in the long run. I do agree with that. He's just expanding the zone a lot. That's really also the issue, especially if you look at the at-bats yesterday, is that he's expanding the zone a lot, especially on the slider down and out, and also the four-seam fastball, the heater upstairs out of the zone. I mean, he's not going to catch up with that fastball that is above the strike zone pretty much at his letters. And so if he learns to lay off of that pitch, I think that he's going to have a lot more success in terms of making the opposing pitchers come to him rather than chasing and, I guess, catering to them and what they want him to do at the plate. So, King, my Brooks Raley, to answer your question, is throwing bullpens right now. He's not quite on a rehab assignment, but he is officially signed by the New York Mets. And so we're hoping that he is going to be starting a rehab assignment and working his way back to Queens, maybe by the end of this month / early June. I think that the best scenario and the best timeline for Brooks Raley, given the updates that I've heard, is that June 1, I would like to see him back. And that's a little bit rushed, but that's thanks to him progressing and recovering from the Tommy John surgery very well from what we've been hearing. Yes, Stanley, no Acuna in this lineup. Again, McNeil's at second base again. D's saying some questionable decisions last night for sure. Again, you live and you learn, and you move on to game 3. Let's talk about the pitching matchup here today, right? Because I think the recipe is simple for the Mets lineup. Get a big hit when you get traffic on the bases. Listen, Zach Gallen really hasn't been doing well this season. He's pitched to a above 5 ERA, and I know that ERA isn't the end all be all, but he's walking a lot of batters in this early season as well. So he is doing himself a little bit of a disservice in terms of allowing other lineups to generate that traffic. And for the most part, the Mets lineup is pretty patient. They'll take the walks when they're given it, right? Juan Soto will do so. Pete Alonso will do so. Jesse Winker will do so. Just up and down the board, Tyrone Taylor will do so. So this lineup can get traffic on the bases today versus Zach Gallen, especially if Zach Gallen remains consistent with the walk issues and the control issues. But if the Mets lineup starts to expand the zone yet again, with the caliber of pitcher that Zach Gallen is and has been in the past, even given some of the numbers this season, they're in for a long day. And so it's really about the approach and the game plan from this Mets lineup and what I'm watching out for. Zach Gallen is a talented pitcher. He's got a fastball in the mid-90s that he uses predominantly, and also a knuckle curveball that he uses very heavily as his secondary pitch. But the Mets lineup, they're resilient. They're usually resilient. And even in the losses this season, when we're kind of like, where's the offense? It's just the big hit, the runners in scoring position, that base knock with that situation that's been missing. And so yesterday, you're talking about a game where if they go 1 for 10, which is still pretty abysmal with runners in scoring position, they probably win that ball game. They probably win that ball game, or at least go into extra innings tied. And so it's not like they're very far off here. They're just missing that big hit. And hopefully that big hit is able to come their way today. But on the other side of things, with Kodai Senga, Senga's having a really good start to his season. I've been very impressed with what Kodai Senga has done over his first 5 appearances. He's coming off of an appearance of 6 innings. I know that this Mets fan base loves that. Anytime a Mets starter can get into the 6th inning and beyond, because he does have a game in which he pitched 7 innings. I believe it was against the A's earlier this season to save the bullpen a little bit. So make sure you're voting in the live chat poll as well. If you're over on YouTube, if you're over on X, come over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and also vote in the live chat poll, asking you all how many innings do you think Kodai Senga goes today? Also, let me know in the live chat as I take a sip of my coffee here. But I really like what Kodai Senga has done this season so far. The Ghost Fork is working really well for him. I think opponents are hitting 0.086 off of it. So sub 100, which is always awesome to see. The fastball really is where he's gotten into some trouble. But again, you're looking at an ERA of just over 1, I think at 1.05 for Kodai Senga. So even when he gets some traffic on the bases, you know, he's stranding runners. He's stranding runners. And that's really thanks to the Ghost Fork working very well for him. Because if you look at the opponent's batting average this season so far over the first 5 starts off of his cutter and his 4-seam fastball, it's not pretty. So he's having to overcompensate for his fastball issues. And the fastball is also down by a mile per hour. It's at averaging just around 95, and he was averaging just around 96 last season. Again, there's pitchers are still ramping up, believe it or not, in the month of May. I know that nobody wants to hear that, but I think the fastball velocity will get back up to 96. And I'm not saying that a mile per hour difference is the end of the world, because he still has that dominant pitch of that Ghost Fork, but that's still something to note. But the fastball just simply hasn't been there for Kodai Senga. So he's having to overcompensate and throw a lot more of those Ghost Fork pitches. He'll do so anyways, but it'd be nice to see him find some success with the fastball. But you can't, like, I can't complain. I don't think anybody in this Mets fan base can really complain with the production that he's given you. The ERA looks good. The strikeouts are down. That's another thing that I think the fastball can definitely help him out with, is getting the strikeout rate back up, because he's not striking as many batters out so far early in the season as he was 2 seasons ago, right? But the walks are down for Kodai Senga, and I don't want to jinx him. Again, I'll knock on wood. If you didn't hear that, I just knocked on this desk. The walks haven't been an issue for Kodai Senga. So if the strikeouts are down and the walks also are down compared to, a couple seasons ago, or what we expect out of Kodai Senga, that means he's pitching to contact. That means he's getting weak contact against his Ghost Fork pitch. And if that's the case, then so be it. I don't think we necessarily need anybody in this Mets rotation to be a high strikeout guy. I don't really think any of these guys are built to do that. I think that if you asked me of one pitcher who is built to be a high strikeout pitcher in this rotation, I'd probably tell you it'd be, I don't even know. I mean, they can all do it. Don't get me wrong. Tyler McGill has good put away stuff. David Peterson does. Clay Holmes has shown the ability to do so. But I'd probably say David Peterson and Tyler McGill are the best suited at having that put away stuff. But again, I don't need Kodai Senga to go out there and strike out 8-9 consistently. He's done it before. We've seen it in 2023 in his rookie season, but we don't need that. Pitch the contact, and more often than not, if you're being deceptive and if the Ghost Fork is working, you're going to get strikeouts automatically, because hitters are going to be chasing that ball in the dirt, and it's not going to even reach the catcher. Alvarez or Torrance is going to have to block it. So that's kind of what we've been seeing out of Kodai Senga. And you can see that in his percentile rankings here from his Baseball Savant page on the right-handed side of your screen, with the K percentage and the walk percentage distinctly. And the ground ball percentage right there, that GB percent, is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of pitching to contact. That's exactly what he's doing. He's inducing a lot. He's not inducing as much swing and miss as we'd expect with the Ghost Fork or the fastball, but he's at least getting a lot of ground balls, which, again, if you have traffic on the bases, works out in your favor, hopefully for some double plays. So And there you go, Caps. I mean, if history repeats itself, and I'm not saying that it's going to, I guess this is why betting is what it is, right? It's a betting game. Daniel's saying that he took only 4Ks for Senga today. Um, that's been right around where he's been consistently over his first 5 starts. But Senga is like, to follow that up, Senga is performing very well. He's keeping this team in the ball game, and he's been really the one guy that has given the Mets length. He's got an outing that was 7 innings against the A's, 6 innings the last time out against the Nationals, and he's got an outing that's been 5 2/3 innings mixed in there as well. So we're getting some length out of Kodai Senga, which is really good, and you'd expect that, giving him the proper 6 days rest that he requires, or at least that the Mets think that he requires, by having these spot starters go in between and reworking the rotation to favor Kodai Senga. If that's going to happen, then at the very minimum, we need production out of you, Kodai Senga. And so far, again, don't want to jinx him, but he's been up to the task. So we'll see if he's able to continue that dominance today against the Diamondbacks. More of the comments here. Wouldn't you rather Soto as DH and Winker and Marte play left field? I don't really. Do you mean right field, King? I think that I'm talking about this comment right here. Do you mean right field? Because he's in right field today. He's always been in right field so far this season. I don't know if I would care. I don't want Marte out there at all. I'm good on Marte playing the field. Winker's fine. I think that you probably get the same defensive capabilities from Winker and Soto. I know that Soto is trying really hard to work on his defense, but let's be honest, he's not the speediest of guys. And I kind of had to hold my breath when he dove for that ball in this series and kind of landed funny on his shoulder. And he was kind of coming up slow, right? And the trainer in Mendoza had to rush out there to see if he was okay. I would always welcome that. I would always welcome that. Soto, I think that we're going to see, especially with him playing the field pretty much every single game so far in this early season, or the first 31 games, we're going to see games where he's going to be the DH to get him off of his feet, right? And to still have his bat in the lineup. And that's a way to get him rest. So I would welcome that 100%. Probably not going to be Marte if I had to guess. Maybe you're looking at Winker. Maybe you're looking at Azokar if you're keeping him on the roster. But I don't think Marte is going to be playing much of the field at all this season. So, yeah. So again, this is really all I had for the pregame today. Again, we talked about some of the roster moves, but before the game, it's a 1:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start. I believe it's on SNY and MLB Network. For those of you all who are not in network for SNY, you can catch it on MLB Network if you do have cable. Mets versus Diamondbacks. It's the rubber match. Series tied 1-1. And this game really does matter. As we talked about in the post game yesterday, last season, the Mets and Diamondbacks had the same record, but the Mets went to the playoffs and the Diamondbacks didn't. And that was thanks to the Mets having the series, advantage, the season series advantage over the Diamondbacks, because they fared really well against the Diamondbacks in the past couple of seasons. And last year was no different, taking 4 of 7. So if you are expecting, which I think we all are expecting, a very tight NL wildcard race, and if you want to give yourself some insurance just in case something happens where you don't win the division, because the Phillies are kind of creeping back up on the Mets, it's May 1st. I'm not really standings watching, but I'm just saying what it is, because the Phillies won last night with the Mets loss to move back into 3 games of a striking distance. You're going to want to take this game to win the series. It may not seem like much, because the Mets will still be 21-11, but winning this series, and then when you see Arizona at their home ballpark trying to win that series, it means a lot. And we saw exactly why it means a lot last season down the stretch. So, something that we haven't really talked about with Juan Soto, and I think that D is bringing it up here, not having a home run at Citi Field is what D thinks is bugging Soto. And this is something where he played in Yankee Stadium, right? He played Yankee Stadium last season. Great lefty hitter friendly ballpark. He put out 40 plus home runs, which we haven't seen in a while from Juan Soto. As good of a hitter as he is, he's not really a 40 plus home run guy usually. Yankee Stadium helped him out. He was able to pull the ball with regularity And we can assume that he was getting away with some of these baseballs that were leaving the yard. And, that if he hits in this season, he's not going to get away with at Citi Field. And you're seeing, and I actually read an article that piqued my interest trying to pull some of the percentage numbers in terms of the splits for Juan Soto, pulling the baseball versus going oppo and going the other way. This is something that you hear Keith Hernandez talk about on the broadcast during the games when Juan Soto is up. It just doesn't look like he's comfortable driving the baseball the other way with authority that we saw him do in spring training. There's some sort of disconnect with what he was doing in spring training, driving the ball the opposite field versus what he's doing now. There's a handful of guys on this team, I should say, that have the capability of hitting home runs consistently and still displaying power to the opposite field, which is pretty hard to do. Usually the pull side is going to be your best bet to hit a home run. Pete Alonso can do it. That's one. Mark Vientos can do it. That's two. Juan Soto can do it. That's three. And I'm talking about consistently because you can have a one-off type of thing, but I'm talking about consistently. I think I'll give Lindor the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say that he can do it as well, right? And Lindor is just swinging such a good bat, man. Righty, both righty and lefty. There's nothing bad that you can say about Francisco Lindor. He is carrying this team alongside Pete Alonso. But going back to the Soto discussion, it was basically stating that he's gotten away using percentages, right? Using actual, split numbers between 2024 and this early going of 2025. Juan Soto is still in that, let me try to pull home runs out of this ballpark like he's playing in Yankee Stadium. And that's not going to work out for him as well at Citi Field. And we all know the type of hitter that he's been in Citi Field in his career, right? We all know. He's had really good success in Queens, especially as a Washington National. So I think it's something where we're still going through that adjustment period, and he's still going through that adjustment period of playing in this ballpark in comparison to where he was at last season. Hopefully he makes the adjustment quicker than what he's doing right now. But I think that there's a lot of merit to seeing the way that he is still pulling off the baseball a little bit. And again, credit to Keith Hernandez. Every time he's saying, usually Juan Soto is an up the middle, take it the other way if necessary, but pull the baseball if it's inside. He has that approach. We really haven't seen that. He's been pulling off the baseball. And by pulling off, I mean, if you take a look at a hitter's shoulders, really should be squared up and aligned until they kind of go through that torque and rotation in the later stages of the swing. He's flying open with his shoulder like this a little bit too early. And that's what's called pulling off the baseball, if you hear that terminology. So he's kind of like flailing his shoulder out a little bit prematurely. Some baseball swing biomechanics 101 there for you. But yeah, that's uncharacteristic. And I really do expect him to correct that. And as soon as he does correct that, and I think that there's some timing issues mixed there in between for Juan Soto. As soon as he does correct those things, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I don't think Juan Soto, to be honest, I don't think that his confidence is something that wavers. That's something that I don't have an issue, and I don't foresee being an issue with Juan Soto. He is confident no matter what he's done in his previous at bat, he's confident that he can go up there and help the team produce by either drawing a walk or getting a base hit in his very next at bat, and kind of leaving the previous at bat in the dugout, so to speak, and not thinking about it. So I don't think the confidence aspect is an issue. I think that what I just mentioned, pulling off the baseball mechanically and the timing, is a little bit more of his issue. So we'll see if he's able to correct that. But again, that's going to do it for me. A little bit past time. We're about, 25 minutes away from first pitch here in Flushing, Queens, New York. Get a series dub. The New York Mets have been so good, so very good at home so far in this early season. 12-2 at home versus an even 8-8, 500 on the road. Let's get a series win. Forget about that brutal, infuriating, frustrating, I don't know what you want to call it, loss yesterday. Go take a ball game today, because I can guarantee you I'll be very happy, and I'll have already forgotten about yesterday once the post game today rolls around on the channel and we're talking about a potential win. Go out there, get the job done. Baseball is definitely hard, as King is saying in the chat, 100%. It's the hardest thing to do in all sports. Even other athletes that play professionally in other sports will tell you the same thing. It's the hardest thing to do in all sports. Got to have some patience with these guys. Got to have some patience. So offense will come around. Hopefully, we're on the post game, spamming the W's, talking about a win. Rob, myself, going live on our respective channels. Come back right after the game, right after the last out, after the last pitch, and come join us. Let's talk some baseball, whether it's a win or loss. We'll talk about it. I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for the support. Again, smash those thumbs up buttons, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the analysis, if you enjoy the conversations for the pre-games, the post-games, all that stuff in between. If you want to follow me on social media, on X, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, make sure to follow me. And let's have a good day. Let's have a good matinee matchup in this rubber match between the Mets and the Diamondbacks. Let's go Mets. Peace out, guys.